Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. This is going to be tiebreaker. So Swiss round 5, we got white going up against Nesh. I'll try to update you as far as what is going on in the brackets. Bottom right hand corner, we got Nesh starting as the blue turned. Upper left hand corner, we got white starting as the red Protoss. This is the first replay we got a white in Gosuleague, which I'm kind of excited to see. As a side note, I recommend checking out Gosuleague Tier 1 and also Pro League. New Ocean went all the way up into Pro League and had some success, had a modicum of success up there. And I feel like a lot of Gosuleague guys of previous year ilk, Fisheye, who else? Trying to think off the top of my head. Fisheye, Herbmon, Byagster, a lot of those guys are having success in the Gosuleague and up above. It's nice to see that kind of shift. I want to walk back something I said in a previous Nesh game where I was like, oh, okay, they're producing additional Marines to push that Vulture out. I have a feeling actually what was happening there, I think I was seeing build order ghosts is what it came down to. I'm having trouble spitting that out today. So rep a Terran FD, you usually get at least 5 Marines. You can go, I've seen guys go as high as 8. You get vultures with mines and speed, and usually a siege tank or 3 is kind of what it all is categorized as an FD. FD standing for fake double, and fake double isn't like fake double expand, it's like fake 2 factory is what you kind of want to make it look like. And instead what it does is you can get some mines out on the ground, and it tends to be particularly effective against Protoss who's skipping range, Protoss who's going 1 gate and not playing aggressive or trying to get a faster nexus, or things along those lines. But anyway, point being, I don't think the 5 Marine construction that was previous, I think it was just a busted FD build of some form or another is what was in fact being on display there, not what I had anticipated is where they're just going to disguise builders and whatnot. So I wanted to walk that back. I could be wrong, but I think that is in actuality what's happening. White opting to drop Cybernetics Core before Zealot. Is he going to build the Safety Zealot? This is already on a larger macro map, so might be beneficial to in fact skip it. One problem at cross position for White is it will be extremely difficult to maintain, to get some map control once those vultures are out on the field. There's just a lot of space, so he's probably gonna have to defend up a little bit tighter, and that could lead to a delayed third base. I feel actually cross spawn pretty solid. If you don't go for 12 Nexus and you don't end up with cross spawn, you end up in a pretty good situation. Nesh not blockading all that well, and so White able to get at least see the factory, and he sees a single Marine, or sorry, a single SCV off gas, which usually is a fairly strong indicator that you're going up with a 3 Marine Vulture build rather than going for a just straight up rapid Nexus. Usually, or a rapid, I digress. Once you see the single, wow, I'm having all sorts of trouble with this commentary tonight. Once you see the single SCV on gas, you can eliminate some factors, including rapid second factory. So you know that it's going to be more likely than not Vulture into mines and a faster command center. There, I was able to say it properly. Sheesh, what is wrong with me tonight? Range upgrading, first Dragoon out. You can see it just blockading right there. I'm wondering if White is going to halt, wait for that 3rd Dragoon before he really makes any sort of movements out. Nesh, in the meantime, holding tight. He is building a 4th Marine, so let's see if he is in fact going for a FD. If he's going for FD, it is going to be at cross position. He's halting at the 4 Marine production, so maybe just want a little extra bulk here at the natural. SCV trying to confirm whether there's a Nexus or not, is able to confirm that a Nexus is in fact in place and recognizes that it wasn't in fact 12 Nexus, so Nesh is going to go ahead and plop down his command center. In response, it's going to be a little bit behind White's. White tacking on a 2nd gateway, but critically that Vulture is out on the field, is really not going to have any sort of pushback for quite some time. He can migrate, get the mine down at the 3rd, get some mines down. Otherwise, out in the field, we have a bunker being built just in case the factory being floated out to provide some additional padding. And after the initial 2 vultures, looks like we are going to get a siege tank just in case in the space of this. But critically, as far as just the raw state of everything, we do have this vulture that's out, is going to be able to plant, and I'm wondering if Nesh is going to prioritize getting the mines out along the just straight attack path. Oftentimes you do that to make sure to try to negate Dark Templar. It's just there's a lot that happens feel like I'm going to rant a bit about mines here in the early game. There's just a lot you can get from mines at the early stage. You can block command centers, you can get vision that can help you against Dark Templar, that can also help at the later stages if you spread the mines around. If there was a fast move out and or if there's going to be reavers moving across the map, if you lay mines at kind of the corner, basically the mines just provide that latent vision, slow your Protoss opponent down, and put you in just a really comfortable spot at the early stages. 2 mines planted here at the 9 o'clock rather than the 12 o'clock. We do have a third vulture alongside that still has a double mine complement. But getting that mine coverage, white, you can see where white is on the defense until he gets that observer out. And I'll have to do a lot of clearing before he can even start thinking about grabbing that fast third. And again, so much of Terran versus Protoss these days is slowing down that third. So I think Nesh is looking pretty solid here in the early game. And white, just because of how things have played out, is going to end up in a little bit more of a challenging situation probably than he is desiring. 7 Dragoons out in the front. Vulture speed complete. The other aspect at this cross position with the mines out in the field is once you see these Dragoons starting to take stabs at the mines out in the map, when you have Vulture speed, if you have them nearby, what you can also do is, if you see them wander out a little bit too far here, you can kind of hold them in no man's land and try to stab them in and get some free probe kills with the natural expansion. It looks like Nesh, rather than doing it as drawing his vultures back to the main, is white being very, very defensive and only sending 3 Dragoons to go ahead and go for the mine clear. Still 2 mines out to the north. Usually around, I think 7:30 is usually about when Protoss is wanting to drop down that third nexus if they can. But you can see the vultures kind of waiting in the wings, but white has this blockaded in the interim. SCV engineering bay, it doesn't look like there's a turret underneath. So 9 o'clock is open. Vultures are going to go ahead and test the front, but white has blockaded that. Well done. And Nesh doing a really good drawback, because he's not just piling it in, continuing to shove it into this, going ahead and drawing out and keeping those vultures active on the map, and I really like that from him. 4 siege tanks out on the front, so now Nesh has some decisions. So it looks like he's gone double machine shop, is getting very late siege tech, is getting siege tech and Goliath range. The lateness of siege tech, it feels like, has been kind of a factor of Protoss playing so heavily to establishing a third, rather than, you can see Nesh just hovering these vultures around to wanted to catch the probe to either delay it or just wanted to confirm that that nexus is in fact getting planted. I think he's already, with the Dragoons in place, has a good sense. And white, yeah, getting that nexus down at a pretty decent clip, but a little bit slower than he very likely wanted to. So 6 gateways up and running. Citadel of Adun plopping down to go ahead and get Zelt leg speed. Second gas going to go ahead and tack on as well. The observer is not, it doesn't have eyes, it just sees the 2 vultures in the front, hasn't really got a good scope at how many siege tanks have piled in. We're seeing the 5 factory shove at the, I think that also occurred around the 7:30 mark. It's kind of the timings we're expecting these days in this matchup, but I'm still going to give Nesh the slight edge. He's done a really good job macroing up to this stage. Tends to usually want about a 15-20 supply gap, and right now white isn't sitting there just as of yet. Still sitting on the 6 gateways. Compsat out here from Nesh, just wanting to get a good look at what the tech is and seeing if it's going to be a quick push to Arbiter or not, and also wanted to confirm if there was a gateway flood in the midst of this. Let's see if Nesh starts pushing those vultures back out onto the map in the meantime, or if he's just going to hold back and start piling army in the midst of this. Also curious if he's going to go dropship once again in this game. Nesh starting to move out aggressively. He is floating the engineering base, scouting up. It doesn't look like, is he going to go for an attack here? It looks like he might be going for just straight up attack. Unloaded the Marines alongside to provide some anti-air. White sees it moving out on the map. He does have to respect it. Is drawing just a few Dragoons to the midpoint. I think he's in drawing the rest of the army down. He's not going to have Zelt leg speed in the space of this, but this is still not a massive amount of siege tanks, and he's done a really good job of mine clearing, so I don't think he's going to feel as threatened as he might have otherwise. Also, the tank's not sieging as of yet, and it looks like the Dragoons, oh, I was about to say the Dragoons might have gotten underneath the siege tank line of reference. It looks like they're still going to be able to get a lot of siege tanks wiped out, so Nesh overstepping Whenever you're able to reset the siege tank count, particularly if you have units left over, that is a win if you are Protoss. So Nesh losing units in mass right there. And that was a huge loss for him, because now if he's thinking about grabbing a third anytime in the near future, he needs to rebuild that army extremely rapidly. And with that, it looks like he's just going to go ahead and cycle up to 7 factories. He does have a command center constructing, but man, he's got to do a lot of work. And if White is on top of it, he can go ahead. Vizalt's trying to blockade the way. At least a probe kill here. One vulture does sneak through. Gets another probe. So at least some value here from Nesh. White a little bit light on his macro. Usually want to be around 55 on those 3 bases. But the problem for Nesh now is White can kind of sidle out. Can contest that third even with what we got 5 vultures right here. And 1 siege tank. Yeah, they can just go ahead and rush and potentially slow this down for quite some time. And he can go ahead and clear mines at the 12 o'clock and grab a 4th. In both directions, there's not a lot that Nesh can do, although White needs to not... Took a big hit right there. I think he's anticipating an expansion potentially at the 6. And so starting to make his way down to clear mines at that location. A few vultures have managed to slip through. They're going to go ahead and draw back. Nesh is playing this very aggressively, considering how poorly that last engagement went for him. He's down a significant amount of supply here. Planting some additional mines, and White late on the contest, so Nesh is going to be able to establish this 3rd base. And White hasn't started, so he's got a big supply lead, but he hasn't kicked up the 4th base. Nesh is late on the clutter, however, and there's not a lot of siege tanks, so might have to lift this command center and pull it out in a hurry. A lot of dragoons making their way in. The SCV's going to try to defend themselves. Siege tanks underneath, trying to do what they can. White trying to go across what I'm going to call Dead Man's Gap, but it looks like he's got enough to go ahead and push through. Yeah, Nesh doesn't have enough to establish here, but these trades going very, very poorly for White, regardless. But still has enough mass where it looks like he is going to be able to bully through. He got a lot. Well, he's getting a decent amount of SCV kills in the midst of this as well. More units flooding in. And Nesh refusing to lift this command center. He's still only got 2 siege tanks underneath this. If White just A moves towards the natural, that might be game, honestly. Should be able to focus fire this command center down in the midst of this. Finally a liftoff. This is very, very late. Yeah, and White able to annihilate that command center now, and now Nesh in a world of hurt. So I was about to say that White might, if he plays too passively here, he's going to lose the opportunity to utilize that supply lead he's got. Now he's got Nesh blocked out of an additional base. He can go ahead, expand to an additional base. He could probably make his way to carrier if he wanted to. He's open enough of a time slot there. Nesh making his way right back out to plant that. He's playing very, very aggressively considering the troop counts. Needs to, I would hope that he would try to blockade this before dropping a command center in the space of it, because otherwise it's going to be a rinse and repeat potentially of that previous engagement. Morzalt starting to fold out. We've got Nesh is hunting just in case a 4th was online. Is White just going to attack the natural? He's starting to gather up troops, maybe thinking about attacking into that 6 o'clock base, anticipating Nesh to maybe try to move out towards that location. A command center's drop. We are going to get some mines out in the way, but here comes White from the opposite corner. Sees the siege tank, so doesn't want to dive too deep. He's going to lose the zealot on that corner. Vultures, in the meantime, have managed to sneak into that natural of White. They're getting a pretty good amount of probe kills before these photon cannons are lifting in, and White drawing all the way back to the main. And we do have some vultures in a dropship. Nesh loves those dropships, I tell you what. No clutter here at the 12. Now White going ahead and clearing up that 12 o'clock base. For grabbing a 4th, this is very, very late though. And Nesh has done a pretty good job of at least keeping that probe count lighter on White side of the map. Usually when you're grabbing that 4th, you want to be at like 65 around there and just be able to fill it in. We'll see if this drop can get something done as well. The advantage of this map and cross position is usually where it would be over for Terran. This is an opportunity to just sit back, get the upgrades off the double armory, and to kind of shell up and just wait for 200-200. Granted, you're probably still going to need to absorb some attacks. You might need to keep some vultures active to try to slow down a 5th and 6th base potentially. to allow and I mean that on top of what's already out here. For 5 base mining, Protoss is about the maximum you'll see they'll go to, and I think that's about 4 or 5, 4.5 feels like the maximum you can really make work, honestly. White still has that 30 supply lead, but at cross position, it's going to be a little bit harder to utilize. He's still also, I want to point out critically, he's got the double Stargates. He has not dropped anything as far as carrier tech or Templar Archives, as far as I can tell, so he hasn't made his way towards next tier tech. He has been dropping forges and a lot of gateways to just play. I don't like that, honestly, given the situation. It looks like a Nexus is going to go drop top right. Nesh starting to move out. Ooh, is he moving out into this? Nesh playing very bravely. This is his +2 weapons, +1 armor is completing. +1 armor is done from White. White scattering a little bit in the midst of this, and it looks like Nesh, rather than starting to attack top right, just grouping up and holding that bottom divide, holding the 6 o'clock base. White cycling around. This is still open here to the right hand side, by the way. Nesh leaving some critical hole. He's got a lot of mines forward, but he's leaving some critical holes in his overall defense post. This is a great siege line here from him. White trying to attack that right hand side. The Vulture is making the way that direction. And the engineering bay also is going to create some... You can see where these Goliaths are attacking the engineering bay rather than engaging this fight. Also, the science vessel is able to provide some nice defense matrix support. And White just donating some troops. That, all of a sudden, we got a huge turnaround. Because that was a massive donation of troops from White and a god-awful engagement. That's the worst I think I've ever seen White engage in on a headlong attack. Maybe he was just overconfident there. He's going to be able to refill supply very quickly. He does have that right base up, but again, wants to be around on 4 bases, around 65 probes to really make full utilization of it. Hasn't transferred probes that direction yet. Still doesn't grab the gas at the 12 o'clock as well. And again, Stargates, we don't see High Templar being built. We don't see Templar Archives. Okay, we're seeing a Fleet Beacon and an Arbiter Tribunal top left. And this is when he just dropped a significant amount of troops and is, I think, still down on the upgrade war. So let's see if Nesh spots it. That's going to be the critical bit. But if Nesh spots this, that potentially will leave White somewhat exposed. White does have a 23 supply lead, but this is getting towards the end where Terran is going to feel fairly confident as far as just the raw upgrades. The question is just moving forward and getting a position before you get swatted on a move out. In the meantime, okay, a flurry of comsats. Does he see it? He sees the edge of some Stargates. And it looks like 2 Arbiters to start. He's not... We also have Stasis, but I think seeing the 2 Stargates, Nesh has got to be thinking to himself, okay, this is probably... never mind. I thought we were still going to see the Fleet Beacon, but it looks like instead... Nesh might be thinking, okay, this is Fleet Beacon, might overbuild Goliaths, because that looks a little bit more carrier-esque. Another follow-up comp set to spot the army, and is moving out. And you can see Nesh was thinking, okay, maybe I move out into this. White at 200, by the way. There's that dropship finally making its way out. I think I might have missed another dropship somewhere in the space of this, unless some things got juggled. Yeah, Siege Tank's gonna make their way top right, should be able to halt this. And it looks like some Vultures trying to provide some support. White testing the left-hand side of this line. But this is still a huge amount of Siege Tanks. 2 defense matrix on the front. The Zealots pile driving into it. The Observer's gonna find the 6 o'clock. And it looks like White has enough and went again, effectively against the grain, where he's going to get some of that cleared, but he's still going to end up getting reset. And so that's 2 bad engagements. Upper right looks like it's going to get halted by these double Siege Tanks. They might be able to swing around and get some additional done. 6 o'clock base is up and running for Nesh, no problem. Poor Goliath went a little bit too far out here and is going to get caught in the midst of this. But Nesh has actually climbed back into this. What was looking like a really ugly mid-game, and honestly a potential soft win situation here, has all of a sudden turned into a pretty decent scenario. Might be able to take out top right as well. You have Vultures streamlining up to the upper right to cut off reinforcements, and White is very slow to respond. He's trying to build a Dark Templar on the low ground. It's not going to be in time to save that Nexus, and all of a sudden it's going to be 3 base versus 3 base. And our additional probe's going to get wiped out. Comsat to try to engage the Dark Templar here from Nesh. Is redropping, dropping additional Comsats to continue to keep this out of White's hands and able to clear it out fairly effectively. Going to re-siege and clearing everything else up. So main is now gone. Natural expansion is next to go. We got 2 mining bases, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock for White. Nesh sitting on 3, effectively 2 bases right this second. But getting some serious damage done. He's at 200, plus 3 weapons is finished, plus 3 armors on the way. And White really hasn't had a solid engagement up to this stage. And I gotta say, I thought White had this locked at a couple different moments, and all of a sudden Nesh has swung right back into it. I will admit, so sometimes in the commentator or whatever, I'm like, well, sometimes Turn can sneak back into this when they're a sector of the map where they can go to 200 and just sit on upgrades. But in my heart of hearts, I'm thinking Protoss should be able to clear this out. Nesh really making a game of it though, and truly making it happen. Dark Templar is going to get another siege tank. I'm not sure that Nesh is going to be in time to respond to this. But moving out with his army, a lot of siege tanks have staged up. That's not the book. He's got about 8. White should be able to clear that out. But we got more siege tanks here staged to the south. These tanks are going, a good 5 siege tanks are going to escape out of that in a good trade. But Nesh now starting to take the center of the map. And from the center of the map, things become a big headache for White because effectively Nesh can start streaming out attacks either direction. He's got this huge minefield out here to the right that would slow any defense to the top right as well. Yeah, making his way to try to defend that. Wondering if Nesh is going to throw out another drop potentially. And it's actually, we're mined out here at the 9 o'clock. Wow, that was a fast mine out. I have to presume that White cycled some troops that direction as well. And the lack, we'll see how this plays. Nesh at 3 level 3 weapons, starting to pick fights mid-map. If he takes out that 12 o'clock base, that splits the map in half away from White's mining bases, where he's only going to effectively have his natural expansion that's mining for him, and Nesh will have effectively what is a cleanup operation as far as a follow-up. We do have an Arbiter making its way to the south. It could recall across the 6. We have a few vultures nearby and not a lot of mines to provide defense there. White running with a good bulk of his army that direction as well. That's actually drawing a lot of Nesh's troops here to the 6. And is he going to skip? It looks like he's going to skip the 6 o'clock base. Unless he drops right on the factories, I don't know that this is going to be a win otherwise, because the Bane's mined out, the Natural's mined out. Could stop level 3 armor. That's kind of it's not that big a victory in the space of this. So going right for the factory line. A handful of troops have made it there. The Vulture's going to stream their way across. And these factories might bleed off pretty heavily, actually. Is Nesh going to go for... How quickly is he able to defend this is the next question. The Vulture's waiting for... This is actually a big headache, actually. That was a great recall. Big EMP on a follow-up. So now the Arbiters are not going to be able to provide support. And without Arbiter support, it will get cleaned up eventually, but Nesh is going to have to rebuild a huge number of factories. And that is going to take time. And that's time White has to potentially get more presence out on the map. These siege tanks and units top right, by the way, have been absolute heroes. Arbiter sticking bottom right. Arbiter doing what it can. Do we have a Goliath queued up? No. So White looks like he's trying to grab the southern 9 o'clock base in the space of this. Nesh has already claimed bottom left with the command center, but doesn't have troops that direction to call a pure hold. And now my concern is that White he's got Arbiters, but they're out of energy and they're out of position, which means Nesh can again continue to kind of bully his way around this. The big advantage is the factories are just gone. And it's going to take a really long time to reconstruct all of that. In fact, Nesh needs to hurry up and get SCVs back down here and building wherever he's going to get it built, because otherwise if White picks some fights and he loses some troops, that could be match. Nice little stasis before exit here. And I don't see Nesh in any hurry to build these factories. He's still at 200 supply, granted. Starting to move these troops out of the way. but he does need to rebuild. Okay, he's got 2 factories here in the bottom right. That gives him, what, 3 factories total? So it doesn't matter how many minerals he has. White, if he kind of, the problem for White is if he wanted to win it by just going for floods, he's still just sitting at 2 bases, hasn't got that lower 9 o'clock up. So in theory, Nesh, he could end up dropping the match to Nesh in a overall trade. It looks like he's going to get some free units here in the Science Vessel and the rest of the drop. But maybe a good opportunity for White to pick some fights, although eating a lot of mines as he was walking across that. Looks like top right has still been boxed out of White's reach. So White sitting on 2 bases, has a 3rd that is not yet established. Nesh sending SCV's bottom left, so he's going to have that base up and running for him. So it's going to be 2-ish, 3-ish base Terran if he can defend bottom left and get factories back. Okay, looks like the factory's starting to fill back in, and I feel like White had an opportunity to do something while that factory count was down, but was slow as far as movement. Let's see if he can dive bottom left. And I don't know that he's aware. Does he aware? He's got an observer over that factory line. Instead, moving headlong into that army. And the Zealots are gone, donating a lot of troops. Otherwise, he didn't have any Arbiter coverage, so just melting the troop line. Nesh all of a sudden up a significant amount of supply. The factories have reestablished themselves. He's got the 3 machine shops. And the rest of the factory, they're a little bit scattered, which will make it a little bit harder to macro for him, but he's got them there, and he's got a huge bank to work with. I gotta say, it feels like White keeps ending up with these. If this was like one of those post-game battle maps, if you saw one of those, it would be crazy, because you'd see these huge swings where White just seems to spike ahead a significant amount in several factors, and then all of a sudden with some of these engagements, it just reverts right back to Nesh. Or close to even. Nesh doing some really good guerrilla warfare. I don't even know if I want to call it guerrilla warfare, but playing from behind in the space of this. And White again donating armies. It's coming in piecemeal. The Zealots running in behind this. Do we have Vultures? The Vultures are going to get towards the front. And I think once these Vultures are able to fill that was a deep, deep tank line. Yeah, now that that's filled in, all of a sudden Nesh has opened up a 30 supply lead. Single Zealot attacking bottom left. That'll get cleaned up by these Vultures very, very rapidly. We've got this upper 9 o'clock base that's a threat. Now Nesh has the initiative once again. Where does he opt to go? And we don't have any Arbiters with any energy to even provide a threat at this stage, I don't believe. Okay, okay, I take it back. We've got potentially 2 recalls or 2 stasis to work with, and Nesh is on the move, and we got an EMP to work with as well. I don't even know that the top right is worth going for. I think Nesh might just go for that 12 o'clock and then make his way to the main. I think he's making that same assessment, is maybe just go for the jugular, the main. 1 stasis drops, catches the Science Vessel, and a few Goliaths. More mine staging up. That Dragoon, I guess, wanted to see what the army looked like, and all of a sudden Nesh is in a great siege position. We got a nice bridge line, and White is suddenly blocked into the upper left. This base looks like it's going to get sieged down. Might take a minute to do so, but Nesh in firm control of this all of a sudden. Level 3 weapons, level 3 armor, fully upgraded, +2 weapons, +1 armor, no Arbiters. Just a slew of Zealots to try to run the gauntlet to break this through. Another Arbiter making its way in, gets a big recall, but we got a lot of siege tanks waiting for this time. A few troops drawing back. That might open up the front for White. But as I say that, a lot of the Dragoons getting absolutely melted. And a lot of Protoss will make this mistake. They'll go for the recall. They'll get a little bit of damage done, but they'll just end up losing a lot of their troops, and then suddenly they don't have enough to defend anything. And so Nesh, upon that, actually allowing White effectively to trade poorly here at the left. It looks like he's going to draw back and start to make his way top right. Cycling back, it looks like some siege tanks might be on threat, but I don't think this is going to breach open. 9 o'clock base is getting slowly whittled down, by the way, and now Nesh has won it. He can just swarm from here, push White all the way into his natural. Is the Arbiter still there? Arbiter's still there with a few Zealots, but that's going to get cleaned up summarily. and Nesh can just move the rest of his siege tanks up and lock White into his main. He doesn't, he was able to deny all those gateways to the rest of the turret. You can see White desperately trying to get something out of the corner so he can provide some theoretical pincer, and it's just not going to happen. Down to 138 supply. And in a hurt now. Nexus is going to drop at the 9. 12 o'clock is looking thin. Has started mining top right in at the opposite position, but even with this, Nesh has got it. He's got a lock. Yeah, gonna just float a few units in here and then rally the rest towards White's door, and White is now locked in place. Unless he gets some miracle recalls, which he's again got 2 recalls to work with potentially. But where can he even miracle recall? He has to recall potentially right on top of this army. Nesh now just sending some vultures out. Can probably comsat. Yeah, the science vessel is taking some heavy damage. EMP clearing a lot of this out, and that will be it. And White recognizing he's locked in, and it was just a cleanup operation. So honestly, that was insane. And Nesh clawing back to victory and takes game 1 in this best of 3. Incredible series here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.